Welcome back to Proxy, everybody. And today we got something special. I have Sean on. He's a channel supporter and is part of the Discord. And he's going to be going to a tournament tomorrow. And I thought that we would just kind of go through his list and talk about why he selected the units he did. And, just have him talk a little bit about, what his plan is going into the tournament. How you doing today, Sean?
I'm doing great, thanks. I'm trying to frantically get everything battle ready so I can not have to lose 10 points from the get go.
Yeah, that's always a thing, isn't it? Man.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some of your work on the Discord and it's awesome.
Oh, thank
Love the
you.
swooping hawks, by the way. The conversion's great. Looks awesome.
Oh, thank you. They're actually I think my favorite because they're like I made them to look like the old Eldar Corsair. What were those guys called again? The pirate ones
Yeah.
that would with their wing jump packs. And there's this great picture and blurb from the of them in the old Rogue Trader book that I took inspiration from.
That's awesome, dude. They were always really cool models. I always wanted them myself, but as a kid I could never afford the Forge World models. Barely
Yeah,
scraping
I guess
by what I could.
that's the thing about having a disposable income and poor financial decision making.
Well, that's why we play Warhammer, right, I guess.
Exactly, exactly.
That's funny, man. All right, well, I have the list up here in front of me. This is an
Okay.
RTT you're going to, right? So, how many
No,
games are you
this
going
is
to be
a
playing?
GT. This
Oh,
is
wow.
the Richmond Open. I think there's 120 people participating in this tournament. It's a big one.
Wow. That is going to be epic, dude. So we're going to be rooting for you. What are you
Oh,
bringing? Run
thanks.
run us through the list, man.
Well, all right. So first is the autark wayleaper, right?
Hmm.
That goes without saying. Any list I create starts there. That's those points are sunk. The Phoenix Gem went up in cost, so I don't think it was quite worth it for the 35 points for the Wayleaper with Lone Op and just keeping her back until turn 4, 5, and if she dies, she dies.
Hmm.
I gave the standard good stuff loadout, fusion gun, banshee mask, and that's just oh, in the glaive, right? The
Absolutely.
two damage glaive.
Definitely the best
So
loadout
I
by
gave
far.
her I gave her Fate's Messenger because I thought it would be good to have a cheeky Overwatch, with her fusion gun just to zap somebody
Hmm.
or to pass a save. Really,
Yeah.
those that was what I was thinking for 15 points. Yeah, that's kind of worth it.
And I
So
actually
we'll
think
see
that's
there.
really clever because, the Autarch Wayleaper, in a way, is a model that can screen your backfield a little bit. And you can actually take out things like Inceptors. You can blow one of those off the board and totally ruin your opponent's math when it comes to killing your aspect warriors and things like that in your backline, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Or they uh deep strike something, some action monkey, nearby, and you got to go clear them off, and all your other units are doing something. Well, it's like, all right, get to work.
Yeah,
you know Jump
absolutely,
up
man.
there, shoot something, charge something. So yeah, so the way leaper is a must. Then what do we have? We've got Fuegan, right? Fuegan's a beast. He belongs uh, in all of my lists because I like to run dragons.
Hmm.
Um, uh, he with his get back up on a 2+, his -4 AP, and then and then this the D6 +6 melt a gun. It's you know you've talked about Fuegan a bunch. Everyone knows how good he is. The points increase. He's still worth it. He's still 100% worth it.
Yeah.
So he goes in there. Um, then I have the Warlock on the bike.
Hmm.
Um, that's just to give the ignore cover to the Wind Riders, and we'll talk about them in a minute.
And that just makes them hit so much harder, especially in terrain dense boards, right? Like, and it's funny because the math actually on a unit of 6 goes up from killing about 8 to, I think, killing the full unit of 10 Marines,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And then I picked the Witchblade instead of the Singing Spear. I mean, it's kind of dealer's choice there, but I figured in a pinch, if I got to do some fighting, and imagery. I mean, it's just an anemic, stupid weapon. Both of them really never
Right.
do anything. But
Yeah.
with AP0, it's like, come on,
Right.
give me a some kind of a. I mean, not even an Eldari power sword. I mean, come on.
Right, I know.
Anyway,
That was such a disappointment when the index came out. But, honestly, Wind Riders aren't bad in combat, which is weird. You
well,
would
yeah,
think
with the
they'd be
three
terrible,
attacks,
but
right?
yeah, they're
Yeah,
actually better than an aspect warrior.
yeah, it's crazy. Why do they get three attacks all of a sudden? I don't know.
Yeah, they're
Um,
wild,
and
man. That's
then what's different, and based on some of your feedback actually, was just abandoning the Farseer. Right, I'm
mhm.
a Farseer on the jet bike kind of guy.
Yeah,
It's I love guide. I love the Farseer, but it was like 90 points, and this list doesn't. I mean, guide, it's really an MSU list, so guide isn't that great.
right.
So I figured, okay, I'm gonna trust in Proxy Hammer, and we're gonna leave it off. And then I've got the Vizark. So the Vizark, he's new to my repertoire. I saw a video by Craftworld Eldar where he talked about the Vizark, and you've talked about the Vizark, and the Vizark with a troop of five Harlequins was my was kind of the go-to. I didn't really have the points for the full Ivrain um, Wombo combo list.
Hmm.
So I figured I'm going to stick the Vizark with a troop in there for a little bit of a fighty threat.
Hmm.
The Vizark can pick up a Marine squad. Man, and if you go on Best Coast Pairing and look at all the lists submitted, I'm going to be facing a lot of Marines this weekend.
The
I mean,
Vizark is
there
gonna be
are a
happy.
ton of Marines.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he's going to be earning his points and doing some work for me.
Oh, absolutely. And
Um,
I think the Vizark to me is something that I've come around to recently because of the kind of changes in the meta. Because at first I really didn't see much of a use to have him in most lists because people weren't running the Harlequins. People weren't really running a lot of infantry, but now that they are, he's just amazing. AP -4 on his weapon, getting to pick between sustained hits, lethal hits, devastating wounds, especially out of
yes,
a falcon, is
yes,
beast.
exactly. And that's well, all right. So yeah, the name of the list is Falcon Punch, right?
Hmm.
So it has three Falcons, and that's been my staple since I can't remember the name of the player, but I watched his stream. I watched the whole thing. I think you talked about it. We all talked about it a bit on the Discord, and I was just like, man, that is so cool. Three Falcons. And so I've been running a version of three Falcons plus Aspect Warriors for I don't know since October. And it's just been my go-to. Like
Yeah.
anytime I start building a list, I'm like, it's only got one Falcon. I don't like it. And I'll
Yeah,
cut
for
stuff
sure.
to fit those Falcons in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was right after the balance data slate hit all the Wraith Knight shenanigans that
Yes.
people were doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so just going scrolling down the list, the next thing I've got are the Storm Guardians. I love Storm Guardians. The two fusion guns do a lot of work, and I use them for kind of a later game objective flipping. I don't really use them to like sticky and run from objective to objective because they'll just die.
Hmm.
So I like to keep them in my back pocket, and then flood an objective and just be like, cool. You got whatever on there. I don't care. Here's 20 OC.
Right.
And then the two fusion guns. I mean, more so than anything else, they kill things all the time. I was running a unit of Storm Guardians in a tournament a few months ago, and they killed the lion. The two fusion gunners
Oh, no
managed to
way.
kill the lion, and
That's
and my
great.
and my friend was like, throughout the tournament, that was the only unit that killed the lion. So that was I lost the game, but I got moral victory from that. So I have three falcons. Bright Lance pulse laser cannon. I was running my graph tanks with the shuriken catapults to try to take advantage of doing a cheeky action or something like that. But the cannon's just so much stronger. It's just better.
Yeah.
So and I've got enough stuff on my list to do actions. There's plenty of action utility, and
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
and the Falcons, they don't really. I mean, I could see the argument for that on a wave serpent, certainly, because they're a bit tankier, and with the invuln shield and all that. I could see trying to use your wave serpent to complete an action or something like that. But the Falcons, I mean, they're to kill stuff. So they're all about just firepower and delivering their payload. So now
Yeah.
we're getting to the payloads. I have 2 units of dragons. I used to be running 3 units of dragons, but I made some cuts, and I justified it because I was running like a wave serpent to put the Storm Guardians in, and then putting the Vizark and the troop on foot. But I was like, man, they're with the +1 to wound coming out of the Falcon with the the troop.
Right.
Um,
On
they're
charge.
just way more effective that way.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So yeah, so I've got 2 units of dragons, and then the other Falcon carries the troop. And then so usually Falcons have a pretty big footprint, so it's hard to put all three in the deployment. So I also like to have that threat.
Hmm.
So I always keep one in reserve, and it's usually been dragons, but I think I'm gonna try the Vizark and the troop in reserve to do some backline, melee. Just get in there and kill some objective sitters, and then they can sit there and be like, okay, come at me, bro. I'll fight first.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to use them because, like for example, if you have them in your own deployment zone, your opponent can kind of, gauge where they're going to be and can kind of maybe stay away from them. But if they're in reserve, you can rapid ingress and that gives you a lot of options for sure. So I think
Yeah,
that's a good play.
exactly. It used to be like a dragon, just to do that. But that's also a great way to cap, you know, one of the many board control secondaries, or to cap a primary, or to steal somebody's home objective, to get a capture enemy outpost. Do a rapid ingress, and then you've got options, right? When you've
Yeah.
got that grab tank sitting in someone's backfield. Shroud runners, you've talked at length about them. They're great. And then I think the reason why they made their way back into my list, I think I had cut them because I wanted to have 3 units of Skyweavers, but they made it back in because I decided to pop in a unit of Wind Riders. And to have those lethal hits with the Wind Riders, with their sustained hits and their rerolls, shooting something on an objective, goes from being a kind of killy unit to a really killy unit. And Shroud Runners are just pretty durable. I mean, they're real tanky unit for 80 points. Yeah, they cause no end of consternation to a lot of my opponents trying to eliminate them with a 5-up invuln, -1 to hit. Um, you know, they last longer than they should for an 80-point unit. So, and for some reason, everyone wants to kill them right off the board. They're like, kill that unit. So I'm like, okay, good job. You've eliminated my 80-point unit
Because
with
they
like
look
half your
cool,
army.
man. It's because they look cool. you
It
know?
is because they look cool. Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
You have the guy like drive by with the shuriken pistol, like somebody looks at that, they're just like, I want that dead for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have a lot of outsized fear for their precision shots.
Hmm.
Um, but you know what? Once in a while, you get lucky.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
I think just the other night, I had my unit of three managed to just plink off librarian, uh, Grey Knight librarian, and he was saving on the three up, but he just failed two of them, and it was like, boom,
That's
all right,
awesome,
you're
man.
dead.
Yeah, I've had him
Um,
kill Ursula Creed before. It's just like,
awesome.
what the hell? Like, that shouldn't happen. But it's like three hits, three wounds, take three saves, you're dead, dude. Like, and that's it. I mean, they can really, I mean, it's not a lot. The math isn't in your favor, but they can definitely plunk off a character, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And or just whatever you're shooting all your scatter lasers at, you can you know you're shooting that at them too, and it's two damage, right? So it's like, boom, that's a dead marine or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, lethal hits is also decent with the scatter lasers if you need to, force a couple more wounds on something like a Catan shard, you know? Yeah, you're not going to be wounding very often, but you can get enough lethal hits on there. They're not going to be able to half damage. They're only getting a 4 plus, 5 plus, you know? You might get a few wounds off of that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love them. I love Shroud Runners. I'm going to in the near future run a list with at least three units of three. I think I have the model, so
That's
I'm
cool.
gonna get them built and do that because I think they're cool.
Super fun
Skyweavers.
unit.
I got two units of Skyweavers. They've been so cool. Dev wounds on vehicles. I play in a very vehicle heavy meta
Hmm.
at my local shop, Huzzah Hobbies. Shout out to them, and the game club that plays there, Plastic Crack Anonymous. There's a lot of really competitive players that play in that group. There's even players that you'll see some players you know winning big tournaments. So there's a lot of stiff competition there, and so um, uh, there's there's an ungodly amount of land raiders running around. So like every list I build, I'm like, okay, can I kill a land raider in one turn with this list? That's just I have to be able to do that. So it used to be D cannons, or other things, but I was like, these Skyleaders are really cool. They're 95 points. They're super fast, and it's just something different. And I got really bored of D cannons, and I got really pissed off at their unreliability
Hmm.
when you need them to roll D2. No, D3, right? And you need to get two hits, right, to for the math to work. And you roll a one, and you're like, oh.
Yeah,
So now
happens
this is
every
going to
time.
be just a waste. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And you know they're hiding behind a wall. They're not. I mean, it's a smart way to play, right?
Yeah.
Don't get shot and blow stuff up. But the 24 inches, I found my opponents once they've clocked it, okay, they're like, all right, and then they know how to play around it, and they can still rack up enough primary and secondary and beat me. And I've got 250 points of D cannons doing nothing.
Yeah.
If they're smart and playing around them, which some of the better players do. So I was actually starting to just always strat reserve them and bring them on so I could just like get them on. But then they just became a trade piece. And so all right, so now I was like, all right, let's do these Skyweavers, because one, they look totally cool. And each unit of two reliably does six mortal wounds on a vehicle. So between the two units, that's 12 wounds. I mean, it's not quite a Land Raider, but between everything else, yeah, I'll kill a Land Raider.
For sure. I mean,
Um,
they do also reroll a wound because they're Eldar, so you could
yeah,
get lucky and roll one of them, and you could easily deal 15 wounds to a Land Raider, if not
you
more.
easily could. you easily could. Yeah, you could spike with one of them, and you could. So I put the glaives on them, and I think it was because um, can't remember the name of the player. It's a guy. It's a guy playing for Team England, and there was a great interview. Should look up the channel and give it a shout out because it's a great channel. But the guy gave an interview and he was talking about why he liked the glaive better than the bolas because it gives you a little bit of fight, right? And
Hmm.
that melee threat, it's a decent profile. It's like 4 attacks with strength 5, AP -1, 2 damage. So it's like, you know, um, you just jam those guys up into a squad of some chaff or whatever, and you're going to kill it. I've also been able to pop 12 wounds on something, and like what are those Gray Knight Walker, the baby walkers? They've
The,
got 13 wounds. I
yeah,
left one on one wound. I was like, all right, let's go, boys, charge in there, and between the 8 attacks that the little unit of 2 has, put 2 wounds on the thing, killed it. So yeah,
yeah.
I just like the Zephyr Glaives.
And the other thing is that, being able to realistically charge into something, kill it, just gives you more movement, you know, which is also
Absolutely.
great.
Yes, absolutely. And move blocking, right?
Yeah.
So I took some of these, and I went up against demons, and I was like, oh great, not one vehicle in the entire list. Well, then these became really tough, really good action monkeys. That 4-up invuln save.
Hmm.
They've got access to smoke, and you can also do the lightning fast reflexes on the other unit. So both your units are getting -1 to hit, and they've got a 4-up invuln, and they're pretty decently sized bases. So I was
Yeah.
like
3 wounds apiece,
jamming
too.
up. I was jamming up my friends. Uh, those corn juggernauts or whatever the heck they are. They're mounted units, right? He
Yeah.
had big units of those, and I was just like, all right, well, have fun just staying right where you are. Kill my kill my shroud runners. I don't care.
Oh man,
Um,
nothing's funnier than just seeing a bunch of blood crushers just stuck.
yeah, exactly. Blood crushers. Yeah. Just yeah. Sticking them between two ruins. Like, all right,
Yep, it's
go
like they're
Skyweavers.
they're like rhinos at a zoo,
Totally,
at a circus.
totally. And I did something similar against a unit of big unit of Thunderwolf cavalry. You know,
Nice.
boom. Eat my Skyweavers. I don't care. And now your big melee units just still on the other side of the board.
Yeah. And I'm gonna hit you with, you know, a bunch of pulse lasers and fire dragons and just everything else that is in
Yeah,
range. That's funny.
absolutely. Swooping Hawks. Nothing more needs to be said. They're my favorite unit in the entire index. I love Swooping Hawks. Last edition, I couldn't stand them. I was like, ugh. I will. I just. I don't know. I thought they were cheese. Like I didn't
They
like
were very
them.
boring for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole jumping away, automatically causing damage. They were very uninteractive and just. I don't know. They didn't appeal to me. But now it's like this, all right, so they went up. I was going to say 75 points, 80 points. It's still worth it at 80 points for what they do. The mobility, hyper mobility, being able to uppy downy, jump in your opponent's deployment zone if need be, or whatever. And their shooting's pretty damn good. I mean, 20 shots per unit with lethal hits, 24-inch range, strength 4. You can do some chip damage on something big, or you can, if they don't have a particularly great save, you can wipe them out. They're great into stuff like Tyranids and Orcs.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
kill stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the lethal hits on them, I mean, obviously they do more damage to things because they have more shots and lethals and things like Dire Avengers. They just force so many saves on opponents. And like the
Yeah,
funny thing is like I've had situations where I've even shot them at things like Terminators, and there's 2 Terminators left on an objective, and the math doesn't support killing 2 Terminators, but my opponent is sitting there with 15 dice, and what do you know? 6 of them are ones.
yeah, that
So,
happens.
yeah, absolutely.
And well, they got the grenade keyword, right? That's
Yep.
always a nice cheeky like, here, I'll just eat a grenade. Here, have 3 mortal wounds. You
Yeah,
kill
and
something that's nearly dead.
oh, absolutely. And the cool thing about your list also is tons of grenades in here, right? Fire dragons grenades, troop grenades. A lot of stuff just has that grenade keyword, so wherever you want to plug in, 3 mortal wounds, you can do so pretty easily.
Yeah, Fuegan has grenades, and the Wayleaper has grenades.
Yeah,
More than one time, I've been like, okay, eat a dragon fusion gun, but before I do that, here's a grenade for your face.
that's so
I love
funny,
it.
man. Oh man.
Um, Troop, this is kind of a new thing to my list. Like, but I thought, I needed melee. And you could do it with the Avatar. You can do it with Wraith Blades. But I just wanted something, a little different. These guys aren't going to be, taking out anything particularly, earth shattering. They're a bodyguard unit for the Vizark, but it's a lot of attacks, and the +1 to wound isn't nothing, and the 2 fusion pistols. Like it's a good little unit. 75 points, right?
Yeah, they're very cheap for what they do, really.
Yeah. I'll definitely be building and collecting some more troops uh, down the road. I think they're going to be really good. And I can't wait for the codex because there's got to have to be some type of clown detachment. That
Oh,
will be
that's gonna
cool.
be so fun. I feel really bad for clown players, man. Like, I've even wanted to make a clown detachment just for them. I guess actually there is, I guess floating around out there a clown codex for 10th
Oh,
edition.
really?
Yeah, for clown
Oh, cool.
fans. But I mean, realistically, even people that are playing casually probably will be a little iffy, homebrew codexes and so forth, playing against that just
Yeah,
in pickup games. Like, oh, can I use my homebrew, you know, clown codex? And it's like, is it OP? Am I gonna survive past turn one? Man, when I
or
was
better yet, bring it against some new player. Hey,
oh god, dude. I've known
I'll
players
quit
that will do
Warhammer
that.
forever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. Like there was this guy when I was growing up, and I was in high school, basically a kid. Well, literally a kid, but I thought myself mature at that time. And he was a little older than I was, and I remember he had the nickname Homebrew, and I never knew why. But apparently it was because he had a homebrew codex that he made for his Space Marine chapter, but he would not tell players that he was using his own rules until halfway in the game. So
That's
people are
great.
going up against them, and he's like, oh, this is this character, and every one of his units is named and everything. It's like basically like fielding an army of renown. And the people going against him are like so confused, like, is what am I fighting into? Like, Space Marines don't have, AP3 bolters. Like, are these stern card like what am I fighting? And the look on their faces was just insane, you know? And the
That's
funniest,
hilarious.
it was so funny, man. And like, he wouldn't tell anybody. And I remember I went against him once and I was like, "You're using your homebrew rules, right?" He was like, "Yes." And I said, "Well, I want to use my own rules too." And he was like, "Okay, fine." And he had to agree. And it was the funniest game, just literally watching his face do the same thing that so many other faces did when I just started listing out all the special bonuses my aspect warriors were getting. Oh my god. Oh,
Nice.
absolutely funny. But okay, anyway,
Sometimes
yeah.
turnabout is fair play. Um, and then I got 2 units of spiders. They're just the incredible mobility. 24 inches. Great Overwatch target. Uh, Dev wounds. I mean, they're killy enough to do some chip damage on something big or wipe out. Something not so big. They can assassinate. I mean, a lot of people are running characters on their own. Like a deploy character. You know, um, they're great
Assassins,
for
for
jumping
example.
out and killing that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, big
So
time. And they can go right through walls. You know, your Colas assassin or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. Colas assassin, is that how you pronounce the assassin?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just he's dead. Three
Yeah,
devastating wounds.
exactly.
Get
Yeah,
out of here.
those a lot of people are running those, and it's like, yeah, yeah, go kill that dude.
Yeah, easy kill.
So yeah, and then unit of wind riders. I've been running a unit of 6 wind riders for a while. Uh, they're just, I think, you talked about it, and I was talking about it with some friends of mine. I originally didn't have them in this list, but I think with orcs and Tau and some other types, um, they're a great killy unit. They're not particularly great into Marines, like with arm, like if
Hmm.
they're gonna chuck armor of contempt on there, you know, they're still
Yeah,
getting their 3 up. But with the warlock, they're at least not getting you know
cover.
cover save plus
Yeah,
armor of contempt and
it's a four up or
um
die basically at that point. You know, which is good.
yeah, yeah. And 2 damage is great, and then yeah, I mean they can kill stuff on an objective. Well, they're they're cool. I
They're
think
really
that's
cool.
that's
I think
also
I think they're
an
underrated
important part of it.
for sure. You know, um, my favorite thing is running them with the synergies of other units, right? Like they're really good with, like you said, shroud runners because they get the double proc on the critical hit. And then I also like using them to bait out like what you just said, armor of contempt, which pretty much every marine faction, even dwarfs, have it, right? Space dwarfs, void armor, -1 armor. It's really good at baiting that out, right? Because you tell them, oh, it's AP -1. They want to make that AP 0. They want their unit to survive. So they're like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pop it right now. And then you're like, all right. And you transition, and then the rest of your army shoots at a vehicle. So now they can't use that on the Land Raider, which your Fire
Oh,
Dragons
nice.
are eating, right? I mean, they're just having the time of their lives against it. No 5 up save for them, right? Especially, I mean,
Oh
like
man.
I've had Marine players that do the double stratagem, that do the armor of contempt and the smoke, right? So like
Yes.
it's just like, damn, I can't even, my fire dragons can't even get through that. And it's like being able to take one of those things away with wind riders is is brilliant in my opinion, and it's won
Um,
me games personally.
I'm glad we're having this conversation now because I'm definitely going to be thinking about that and trying that out this weekend. I think it's a great idea.
Excellent. I'm glad I'm glad I threw something your way that you can use because like I don't know why, but I guess it's human instinct when, especially with better players, right? Like a better player will look at a unit of 6 wind riders and say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to, my unit's not going to be able to survive on this objective if I don't use Armor of Contempt on it. And they'll do it. They'll pop it like that because they'll know the averages and they'll say, I want to control that objective. And you're like, okay. And then you just transition to somewhere else on the battlefield and you wipe out another unit without that benefit. So, yeah, Wind Riders can really hit hard and if they're in range to charge, you can charge and deal quite a bit of damage. I mean, and the cool thing is, earlier I didn't mention this when you were talking about the Warlock Skyrunner, but I actually think the Witchblade is not a bad choice, considering you can charge in and wipe out, at least one Marine with it, right? Like,
Yeah.
here's two saves, right? And then, not even counting the rest of the unit, but 2 saves, you fail when you die, and then the rest of the unit attacks. So, I mean, decent chance of killing the last Marine, killing the sergeant.
And if you have the CP, it's actually a cheeky target for Bladestorm,
Yeah.
right? Because anti-infantry 2 up, then you're getting your critical wounds, and then suddenly your AP 0 sword is AP -2 sword.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I may be wrong on this, but is Bladestorm shooting only, or is it both?
You know what? That's a good point.
Because I forgot. I think last edition, in ninth edition, the Bladestorm might have been only shooting, but maybe it's different now.
Let me
Maybe I'm
look at it
thinking
real
of
quick.
last edition's Bladestorm. Yeah,
Blade
because
Storm. Here we go. Ah, you're right. Shooting phase.
oh,
All right.
that's
So
lame.
never mind.
That would be cool. That would be awesome if that was the case, for sure.
So it's back to a crappy sword.
Well, I mean, you get all the other attacks too, and like weirder stuff happens. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and then so the Wind Riders are they're a great target for Overwatch.
Hmm.
Even though you have the spiders in there, but you've got the better range with the Wind Riders, and you've got all of your hits are going to be sustained. So suddenly you're, instead of getting 3 hits, you're getting 6 hits.
Yeah, and it's damage too, which counts big
It,
time.
and it's damage too. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they easily kill more Marines in Overwatch than Warp Spiders do, just because of that damage too.
yeah.
That's
So
really
that's
cool.
my list. That's Falcon Punch.
Well, it
I'm
certainly lives up to its name.
I'm hoping to do okay. I've been doing kind of more on the competitive side for the last year, I guess.
Hmm.
So this is my first, not my first GT, but my first big GT. It's going, traveling, staying in a hotel, doing all that. So it's kind of a big deal. And 120 players. Um, I'm not under any illusions that I'm going to win the whole thing. I'm just hoping one to get a lot of reps in, which I will. I'll get 6 reps in, and a lot of my friends from the game group are going to be there. So my Plastic Crack Anonymous buddies are going to be there, and
That just cracks
yeah,
me
it's
up,
just going to
man.
be a good time. And I'm hoping hope I go minimum 2-4. We'll see. Uh, I would love to go 3-3, but that's a total stretch goal. So we'll see. Maybe I'll go all the way.
I think, you know what? I think have some confidence. I think you'll do pretty well. I think,
Thanks.
first of all, the list is very well equipped to deal with what people are taking. Um, and, I know in Discord conversations that you've had with other, players on the Discord and myself, you seem to have a really good working knowledge of how the units work and when to use them and where to, use them on the battlefield. I think you'll do better than you think, you know,
Oh, thanks, man.
for sure.
I appreciate the confidence. Yeah, it's going to be cool. And just I love Eldar. I've been playing them exclusively for 10th. Every
Nice.
time I think about something else, I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Because it's such a diverse and deep codex or index. We've got so many cool units, so many different builds, so many different ways to play, um, and that's why I keep coming back to them.
They're such a fun army. I mean, me personally, I've played other armies and it never lasts, It's like I keep going back to Eldar, and that's because they're absolutely the best in my opinion, the faction in the game. They have the depth, they have the tactical, kind of incentive to, keep playing them, to keep getting better with them. And they look freaking cool, They're different, which is really awesome. They stand out. Um, like, I mean, in my own gaming group, so many players play, some form of Space Marines, and I can't tell you, it just from the other end of the table, I cannot tell if I'm looking at a Dark Angel, an Ultramarine. It's like they all just blend together to me. I'm just like, what are those? Oh, these are Infernus Marines. Oh, okay. I'm shooting
Yeah,
at them.
yeah.
It's
It,
just
it,
like,
it's its name starts with an I.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, well, they're dead. I mean, I mean, they're just so, in my opinion, bland, and that's why Eldar to me just really stand out. They're very colorful. You know exactly what you're looking at. People have an idea. Also, a lot of people who play in tournaments and stuff will know exactly what they're looking at. You know, those are the Howling Banshees. That's a Falcon. They're very distinctive, which is cool. Very cool to have. Man, well,
Yeah, and there's a little bit of me that kind of a little trollish aspect maybe that kind of feeds into the hate that our faction
Oh,
gets. It's
absolutely,
just
man.
like
You
they
learn
hate
to
us because
love
they
it.
ain't us.
Yeah, you learn to love it over time. I mean, I tell players this, like, there's been a few players that have come to me and been like, man, I really dislike all the Eldar hate I'm getting. And, as somebody who has played Eldar for about 20 years, I just think of that like, well, that's the best part about them. Oh my God, man. The amount of times I have played games where people are just hating. In the moment, yeah, it may ruin the, aspect of that game, but man, they make the best stories. They make the
Yeah,
absolute best
totally.
stories. And it's like you can't do anything about it and you can only laugh at it because you're not really being a dick. You're just playing the army how it's supposed to be played. That's it.
Right, right. And for whatever reason, the factions meant to be a glass cannon that high mobility and high lethal output, and it's a fun style of play. I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
it's a real thinking style of play.
Yeah,
You you
absolutely.
you, you can't autopilot Eldar. I mean, maybe you could at the beginning of 10th, just get
Yeah, I mean that
dev
was a
wounds all
different
over
kind of
somebody,
Eldar that
but
I honestly that was a different kind of Eldar that I've never seen Eldar operate like that. Even back in the day when I would run, in fifth edition I ran an alternative to my MSU Wave Serpent spam list. And it was a Wraith heavy list, and I had two big blocks of Wraith Guard. I had three Wraith Lords in the list. It was just all Wraiths all the time. And that was meant as a counter to a lot of the armies that were people were running with last cannon spam and things like that. But
mm,
even that list, it wasn't autopilot. It required you to move and move up the board in such a way that you minimize the amount of damage you took. And the beginning of this edition, it was just no one could kill you. You know, no one could kill the
yeah,
Wraith Knight. It was just back there, just obliterating everything. It was impossible to win against
just
it.
like all the dev wounds just like hoovering up.
it
You
it
know,
it was funny once, and after the first time
exactly.
it happened,
It was funny once. Yeah, it
it
stopped being
was it
funny
was
after a while.
so terrible. I felt so bad. I played a game against my Dark Angels buddy, and he's already kind of on the salty side, like when 10th came out, because he lost a bunch of his cool Dark Angel stuff. And as far as the rules go, and he's playing a game against me, and I'm using all Wraith Guard, and I had a Wraith Knight, and he's across me with his Terminators, and he's like, "This should be good, man. Like these are kind of like two Terminator armies." I was like, "Yeah, man, it should be fun." And I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, "God damn, I hope he has something against this D wound. He must have something, right? Some mortal wound defense." Well, it turns out he really didn't.
Oh
He
man.
had the Watcher, and that got used up right away, and then it was just like dead, delete. It was a delete button, man. It was just like two Wraith Cannons, boom. And he almost thought I was cheating somehow. He's like, there's no way. Looks it up, looks back at me, says, wow, okay, I guess they're all dead. And in one turn, Wraith Guard, Wraith Guard, Wraith Knight, that was it. Game over. He basically,
Oh
all of his
man.
models were just dead. I felt so bad. And I never ran that again because I was like, it's not even fun for me, you know? But
No, yeah, it ceased being fun after the first time, like you said. But
yeah,
you know what I'm really loving are these successful MSU lists that people have been running, and that's kind of like what I'm trying to, my own take on it. I love Falcons. They're kind of durable, despite I mean they're not the most durable, but they take some dedicated firepower. It, they pack a punch, and yeah, like I just like these kind of the new style of Eldar, well, new old style of Eldar list, going back to aspects, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to where it's going from here.
yeah, for sure. It's a really fun way to play. It's one of my favorite ways to play personally, just because it's so dynamic, and you have your specialist units that are really good into certain targets, and it's just really fun. Dark Reapers, something that I've been running lately is dual Dark Reapers. I think are really fun and good, surprisingly now. You know, like after how bad they were in ninth edition, it's good to see them back. So I mean, most of our aspect warriors, at least now, are good, good enough to compete.
Yeah, my banshees.
Oh, Well, they're never returning to what they were. I mean, they were so good. I remember my opponents just keeping clear of them, always measuring to them because they never wanted to get
Yeah,
charged by them. It was they
absolutely.
were world eater. They were world destroyers basically. I mean, you
Yeah,
charge them into anything and they kill them. Corn berserkers, anything didn't matter. Terminators, dreadnoughts. Oh man, like they were nasty in Ninth Edition.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I loved him. But you know what? For 70 points, maybe I'll throw him in a list just to,
Yeah, I mean, I don't
you
think they're
know,
bad. I think they trade well. Like, and recently, like I was talking to a little bit previous about, me playing a little bit of Dark Eldar, dabbling in Dark Eldar and playing witches. Banshees kind of fit the same thing. They trade well against Marines. They may not trade into units with invuls very well, but they definitely trade against things without invuls or, your regular, bog standard space marines. And because they have fights first, you can use them to block off certain, places of the board so that if your opponent does want to charge in, they're going to have to take some hits from Howling Banshees first. And it's, again, it's 70 points. I think before it was just too expensive to take them in a list because it was like, yeah, even if I do play them to their potential, I'm still trading down.
yeah, 85
you know,
points was crazy for
it's
what they did.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, yeah, if I want to block off a unit of, intercessor, assault intercessors, and it's like, oh, that's great, but they're going to charge in, get some mortals on me, and I'm not going to hit it hard enough back for it to matter. And now at 70 points, it's like they trade much better with that unit of, intercessors. So
Yeah.
I definitely think they're
Um,
worth considering.
yeah. So just ready to right. I'm even as I'm talking to you, I'm trying to frantically get everybody battle ready. Got my stuff based. I'll send a picture when the whole army is together. I actually had to borrow some units from a friend of mine. Um, my friend Kevin, shout out to him. I think he is a subscriber to your channel.
Oh, right on.
He's lending me some of his wind riders, which are painted beautifully, and yeah, it's just
Nice.
it's going to be a good time.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm going to have to do a review of your list after the tournament, and maybe after the tournament we can have another discussion about what your experience was, with 120 players around you. It gets loud in those places, man. You really have to
Oh,
bring your voice with you, man. It gets pretty loud. So,
I saw a picture of the hall, and it's, I mean, this is one of these big, convention spaces, and it has these the tables rows where there's like two middle tables, and then two like they're big long rows, right? So
hmm
I'm just really hoping I don't wind up in the middle, but I've decided I'm gonna do mind games, and if I get in the middle and I win, I'm gonna choose the opposite side.
hey, man, Eldar mind games start at the absolute beginning of the game. You know,
Just be like, yeah, I'll choose that side, and then get up and start walking around this big long table.
oh my god, the amount of times I've done the same exact thing. It's funny. There's a little troll in every Eldar player, I swear.
Yeah,
Oh man. All right, man. Well, it's been great talking to you. I hope you do
yeah, it's
very
been
well in
awesome
the
talking to
tournament.
you.
I'll let you paint your stuff because I know you have to get a battle ready. But it's been awesome talking to you, Sean. And for all you out there listening, if you do want to become a Patreon member, support the channel. It's absolutely free. I have free trials activated. We'd love to just have you on the Discord, talking to us, talking strategy and stuff like that. So consider joining. I'll leave the link in the description. If you want to support the channel via the channel store page or through the Amazon affiliate links in the description as well. That would be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys next time, everybody. Peace out.